Galilean Healing is. So Galilean Healing is a combination of hypnotherapy, Reiki healing, and crystal healing. And it basically works by combining all of those three things together. So if you are looking, say if you're at Reiki 2 at the moment, sorry, there's a couple of bits going on at the same time and I keep on getting distracted. So if you're Reiki 2 at the moment, this is designed for people from Reiki level 2 and above. And the reason why it's designed for people from Reiki level 2 and above is because it works with heart energy and it works with emotional based healing. So we all know that Reiki works on the emotional, the physical, the spiritual and the mental. But this is a way of taking that to the next level in terms of the energy that you're channeling, in terms of the techniques that you're using as well. So if you're interested, or if you've kind of got to a point where you think, oh, I'm not 100% sure what I'm supposed to be doing with my healing, I feel like I need to take it up next level, that type of thing, or you may just really love doing extra Reiki courses, then this is kind of for everyone. 2 ticks. Give me a second, I'm just typing a message. Okay. Done. Now I can concentrate. Okay, so how does Galilean healing work? It combines all three of those modalities. And actually something that's worth knowing about is if you're combining different types of healing, it's not the same as doing one healing or 2 healings or 3 healings. They have an effect where it's kind of like providing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 different healings at the same time. So what you'll find is that you'll be able to offer clients a healing which doesn't just treat the symptoms. So the energy you channel is going to be really high. The hypnotherapy techniques you're working with, hey Sabine, are going to the techniques that you're working with are going to be add an extra layer, an extra dimension on. So the hypnotherapy comes from quite a logical perspective. I know that some people still think that it's quite fluffy and rubbish and all of that type of thing, but it's really quite, it's really quite clinical. It's really very deep. And if you're kind of at a point where you know what, hey guys, if you're kind of at a point where you know what your issue is, your client knows what your issue is, and then maybe that you've had a client for a while who you've been working with and you both know that they don't voice what they need to voice, etc., then the way that this works is that you're going to be able to go in at the root and remove the actual core issue, the seed that started them being unable to voice their opinion, for example. And the reason why I'm going with that is because that's one of mine, yeah. If you're ever in doubt, I've used myself as an example for most stuff. So hypnotherapy will go in and actually sort out the issue on a very deep level. So with Reiki, I was getting clients who were coming back and they were having the same issues again and again and again. And it was really frustrating for them. I thought, you know, it was frustrating for me because I didn't feel that I could help them or get them to progress any further or quicker. So the Reiki was still working. It was still getting them, you know, they were coming once a, you know, month maybe, you know, to top up their energy, or once every couple of weeks, etc., depending on what was going on with them. But a lot of them were like, well, no, I really just want to get everything sorted. And when I did my hypnotherapy course, the way, again, you were taught to deal with it was you're treating the symptoms. So treating the symptoms of stress, same as the Reiki does, rather than treating the original issue. And they did teach out techniques for dealing with childhood trauma and things like this. And I thought, well, why aren't we using that for everything? Why are we not going in at the seed for everything? So I then started working with crystals as well. I think crystals for me probably started when I was, you know, tiny. And I don't know if anyone else did one of those weekly or monthly magazines of the crystal, and you build up your gem collection. Yeah, I did one of those, and I had this most amazing gem collection. I loved it. And rose quartz has always been my favorite. It's my birthstone, but it's just amazing. It's just, I've got a piece of it up here actually. This is a rough cut raw. So the energy is really, really high. The energy is really good. And it's these, almost like sweets. It's these that I use with the healing. So one day, my son, basically, I asked him, talking about energy, and he kept on saying to me, probably at least 2 times in a row, Mummy, it always goes back to the heart. Mummy, you always have to do the heart, when we were looking at crystals. And I thought, yeah, he's right. Everything is emotional based. Why is the chakra system taught out from top to bottom or bottom to top? It's not. This is the center of the chakra system. You know, it's absolutely our heart center. So I started to change the way that I worked, and I started to bring crystals in alongside the healing, and I found that I was channeling energy at a higher and higher rate, and I had a really beautiful experience one night with Jesus and John the Baptist and Mary Magdalene, where effectively it was kind of like an attunement, but it was almost like a baptism. And one of my crystals that I use for heart healing, I had with me, and I was healing in the bath with it, and I felt like a new person. And in that moment, I knew that I'd been attuned to something higher, and this crystal had been attuned to something higher. Crystals, interestingly, work on the first dimension, the first dimensional beings. Please read Tesla, he's amazing. So they're first dimensional beings, and then the healing, that energy that you're working with, generally Reiki, depending on your own vibration and on who you've been taught by, etc., because everyone attunes differently, you'll find, just because their own energy, you'll find that you're going to be channeling energy probably from around the 5th to 7th dimensions, which is quite cool. And then I found that I was channeling higher and higher energies. So I worked out that basically I was channeling from what's called the Christed consciousness, or the universal consciousness vibration. And for any of those you who know my backstory, I've started off in the Christian church. I was raised Catholic. I have done the happy clappies for a little bit with my crazy aunt. And so Jesus has always been my buddy. He's always been my friend. I've never seen him as, I don't know, something on a pedestal. He's always been somebody who I knew and loved, and who I would turn to for guidance my whole life. Why I didn't realise that I was a psychic and medium earlier, I've got no idea, because I would always get the guidance and the wisdom that I needed from him. So, and actually Mary Magdalene was one of my gateways away from traditional religion, as I began to do research and think, oh, wait a second, this doesn't make sense, and I believe this, and this feels right, and this feels true. So, and Jesus has got a really balanced energy. He's, although, you know, the Catholic Church and many Christian churches, everything comes from Catholicism nowadays, is quite a patriarchal religion. Jesus wasn't like that himself. If you actually read any of his stories, he very much was for the feminine balance and very much pushed women's causes and women's issues. And I think it's quite clear that he did not work with a group of men. He worked with a mixed group of disciples. And very much that balance comes through when you do the healing. So when you work with the healing, you basically bring through all of Jesus and all of his circle, especially Mary Magdalene, that the two of them very much work in tandem with each other. And that started to happen for quite a while. Jesus came through at particular times when I needed him. And coupled with this heart and emotion, he kept on talking to me. I don't know if anyone knows any of the sort of Catholic symbolism, but there's one version of Jesus, where he's called the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and his heart is open. And it's not a sacrificial thing, which it sometimes gets interpreted by. It's about complete love and complete generosity of heart and of spirit and all of that type of thing. And he explained to me that you can channel through the heart as well as the hands, which you can do from Reiki 2. Reiki 2 attunes the heart. And so I then began to combine in my own healing, the hypnotherapy techniques, this higher energy that I was working with, and additionally working with hypnotherapy and looking for the core issue of what is, what is it? Why do you keep on going through these life cycles? Why do you keep on going through these emotional issues? Why are we doing this? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be very early on in your life, because our personalities are, pretty much formed by the age of 3, and the way our brain receives and processes information changes after about the age of 7. So, depending on how airy-fairy you are, as to how much time you spend in some of these higher vibrational brain wave states. Some of us spend our whole lives in those higher vibrational brainwave states, but it does mean that the influence that other people have on you, who you love and respect, is quite strong. So sometimes we find that we react to people emotionally, and sometimes we find that we learn from them emotionally, and we ape and we copy them. So the way that this works is that we would I would sit down with a client and I would say, okay, what's going on? Why have you come to see me today? And in fact, I do this with a phone call beforehand. Have a little chat with them about why they want to do what they want to do. What's the block? And then we check their energy and see where on their energy they're holding the block. So we're going in and we're accessing the energy and removing the block, the original seed, from the energy. So we identify where that is, first of all. Once we've identified where that is, and this is something that I actually teach you to do as part of the practitioner's course, is to find out where the block is. You discuss with them, is this, some of it's obvious. I mean, for me, again, with the voice, not being able to voice myself, I'm an empath. So I used to feel other people's emotions really strongly, and it used to stop me saying things if I felt that I was going to hurt their feelings. And I had one family member in particular who would get very upset by really, really weird stuff, and I really didn't understand what would upset her. Not my direct family, I would like to say, but somebody who I spent a lot of time with. And so I never used to say anything. It's easier not to say anything for fear of upsetting them than actually saying something. So for me, it was so obvious. It's obvious where that comes from. When did I first learn not to voice my opinion? Then, absolutely then. And so when we make that mental connection, and in the first day of the Galilean Healing, I teach to make the connection, get the client to make the mental connection as to when this has started, or sometimes it's so obvious when you look at your family and go, oh no, I know why I reacted like that, or I know where I picked that up from when I look at my family, or I look at those who used to look after me, or etc. And then what you do is do an amazing healing where there is an attunement with 2 new symbols, 2 new, it's effectively a master it's a beyond master attunement. And I'll explain a little bit more detail why that's amazing and yet really easy and comforting and lovely at the same time. So you get this amazing attunement and you're able to channel energy at a really, really high level. So rather than the standard maybe 5 to 7th dimension that you might get through in Reiki, if you're into your dimensions, you're looking at it being much higher. You're looking at it genuinely being around the 9th, but anywhere up from the 9th. So the energy is really high, really amazing. And you're going in and you're removing energy via the heart. It's emotional energy. Why are we not using the heart and the facility that the heart has in order to remove energy and to and it removes it easily. If you want to rip some bad habit out of somebody's energy system from somewhere in their body and you're just taking it out, it's actually quite harsh. And quite often people go, oh no, actually I'd much rather keep that. I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy with my bad habit. It's a bit too scary and a bit too much in one go. The Galilean doesn't work like that. So it works with emotional energy and it works via the heart, and the heart is love. So it works with love energy, and effectively it replaces the seed that you have with a beautiful, I always think of like a beautiful rose vine where it's all spiraling up and spiraling out, and that seed has to grow. And in the same way that your bad habit or your mindset grew, your new mindset has to grow. So what I recommend is that you give clients 21 days and then do either a repeat treatment or something else like that, but that's obviously all taught out in the course, in the practitioner's course. But when I work with clients, it's generally 21 days to a month, and then I do a follow-up session. And in that follow-up session, you're basically reaffirming what you've done before, and you give the clients a affirmation, and I show you how to make affirmations. Some of you will just work very intuitively, some of you might need a little bit of help to start with, and that's perfect because that's how I started out. You start out and you say, no, and I've got loads of stuff for you. So your client and you choose an affirmation together. By the end of the treatment, that affirmation is in the client's aura. That new belief system is in the client's aura. So the client then takes that beautiful seed that you've given to them, because this is all around love. And let's not forget, the greatest love is self-love. I mean, true self-love. I'm not talking about, egotistical, standing up. I was going to say being Madonna or something, but actually that would be quite fab. Just for a couple of weeks, just be Madonna, particularly in the 80s, yeah. And it's that real self-love, and you nurture and you grow that seed. The client nurtures and grows that seed, and what you actually do is you're giving them back the gift of healing. You're giving them the responsibility for their healing. You're enabling them, you're empowering them. You're recognizing in yourself the healer. You're recognizing in the outside the healer with Jesus or any of his circle that might come to work with you, and you're recognizing the healer in the client. And there's 3 of you working through this. It's not you, it's not them, it's not the client, it's all 3 of you working together. And what that actually does is it means that that person owns that healing in a completely different way. It helps change mindsets based around self-love, self-care and self-nurture. So they all work it's just amazing. So on the first day, I teach you how to do all of that, to help clients with affirmations and all the rest of it. And the attunement is a self-love attunement. So what you're doing is you're tuning in the higher heart. The higher heart is part of the heart, and it helps create the hive heart, which I talk about in the actual course. So the hive heart, and all this love from the universe, love from you, it enables you to see yourself and others with the perspective of the universe. And the universe has got some pretty awesome perspective, because it's those moments when you go, why the hell am I going through this? And the universe is like, oh, because you can't see in 6 months' time. Or do you remember you asked for this? yeah, this is getting rid of that. And then you're going to come out on the other side and you're going to feel amazing. So the universe is pretty cool. And by tuning your higher heart correctly, you'll be able to see things from the perspective of the universe much easier. It means that you call yourself out on your own rubbish much easier too, which is always great, And so, you know, you can kind of see your own patterns a little bit easier as well, if you're not already there and seeing your own patterns. I'm very self-analytical, so yeah, I've always been good at seeing my own patterns. And it's to refocus your energy on you as well. So self-care, self-love, self-nurture. And as part of the practitioner's course, everyone gets a treatment on the day. Everyone goes away with an affirmation, and part of the self-healing journey is really important. I want to ask you to do like a little self-healing diary, just to say, this is what I felt today. You know, it might only be one line, but that's all you need. And then you've got 21 days in order to sort of self-heal and go through that. And the attunement is, like I said, it's a beyond mastery attunement, but it's this energy is just so light and so easy to work with. It will completely change your vibration. And when you're working with clients, you don't even need to worry about switching on another level. I don't know about any of you, but I know some people who go, oh, I do a Rahani treatment, or I do a Reiki treatment, or I do an angelic Reiki treatment, and they can keep all of those separate. I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. You're going to get this. This is what you're going to get. So it works with it. That's how it works. It will just absolutely whack your energy up. In a really nice way, because like I said, in the same way the attunement grows, in the same way that the sea grows. So what you may find is if people try to sort of like rip bad habits and things out at the base, and in a different way with, you know, different methods, it can feel quite raw, and it can be very difficult to navigate going forward. It doesn't work like that with a Galilean. It grows. So you'll notice small change. You'll feel completely different, and you'll notice small changes. For example, with myself, I might have found that I can talk. I can actually say no to people, and the first time I might go, oh, I need to think about that, and then I might say that again, or I might go away and think, oh, I didn't say no to that, and I should have said no to that, and I go back to them afterwards and I say, actually, you know what, I really can't do that, because I've got X, Y, and Z, and then I can say no without having to justify why I say no, and I can say no to those people that really, really emotionally might get to me, and that grows and grows and grows, and that grows at a pace that is right for you, because we all live lives. We all live in a real world with real houses, with walls that are solid. We are not energetic beings. So, you know, and I find this is one of the reasons why I do Reiki 1, Reiki 2 separately. I don't do Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 together, because it's such a big shift, and you're asking the universe for a massive shift when you do those two attunements, particularly together. You want to say, I'm going from having no healing skills to being a professional. I don't even want to be an apprentice. I want to be a professional, and I'm doing that on one weekend, and the universe is going to go, oh, you want to be a professional healer? Well, you don't need that, and that in your life. Out that goes. And I've literally seen people's lives fall apart because relationships or work situations are vibrating in such a low place that the person hasn't got time to acclimatise to it, or their loved ones haven't got time to acclimatise to their changes, and they can't stand being at work, or they can't stand being around these people, and, you know, all these things pan out. The Galilean doesn't work like that at all. It grows. And that's absolutely what it's designed to do. I then do a second day for the Galilean practitioners if people are interested. That is going into deeper hypnotherapy techniques. We would go back and look at previous life trauma and this life trauma, where we go back and basically change the vibration of them. We look at them in a new way. A lot of Inception energy work, which is basically the energy that you came in with, reattuning to that, realigning that. Sometimes it does need realigning because of the genetic stuff that comes through, you know, those predispositions to being stressed, or a really common one that comes through is, let's go through my phone as well, it's things like the hard work ethic, working until you die, you know, or, you know, so many generations of war and stress and poverty that you're constantly in survival mode. And, you know, if you're a good parent, then you're going to pass on those amazing genes that keep your children surviving. So, you know, that stuff gets passed on instinctually, and for really good reason, because, you know, even a couple of hundred years ago, you look at the state, particularly in cities, and even 100 years ago, in some of the larger cities, Liverpool, Southampton. When I know people who grew up in Southampton in the 50s and 60s, and, you know, some of the stories they have about living in, you know, accommodation where, you know, they used to have to cover up their younger brothers and sisters' eyes walking up and down the stairs because of the prostitutes in the in the stairwells during the day. We've moved away from that. That sort of thing is not acceptable. We are no longer living in a situation where we have to survive. We can now thrive. So sometimes when we do this inception work, what we're actually doing is working with people and changing the vibration of the energy they were born with, because there's too much stress that's come through with them. And they've just come through with too much stress. And that's beautiful. That's really beautiful work. So we do all of these techniques on the second day. There's no attunement, it's just literally all of these deeper techniques. And on the first day, we get to, you know, really get into Jesus' circle, really understand them for who they are. Because I don't know about you, Bible's kind of boring. And it's not particularly written in a catchy way. So, you know, most of us don't actually get to understand who the people were behind the stories. And I can do that with you. I've got all channel messages from a whole load of them. My next workshop, which is coming up at the end of this month, I've got some more sat there because I've had Philip's daughters come through. Philip's had 4 daughters, all of whom were prophetesses, and they come through as 4. They come through as 4 of them. So there's some extra bits and pieces that are going to be in this one, which actually, the way that I work as a teacher, full stop, is I provide a forum on which to help everyone. So I've got an exclusive Facebook group, and with the Galilean, I'd obviously bring people into that Facebook group. On top of that, for example, I've got set up over the next couple of weeks a sort of Q&A session for people who are already doing the Galilean, to if they've got any questions, that type of thing, because it is deep, and people do have questions. And on top of that, any new material that I put out, or if I make changes to the worksheets or anything, that all goes on a shared file. Everyone's got access to the shared file. So for example, they have the new channel messages through, or if I change my chakra system, which I have because this is me, then you have the new energetic chakra system to work with, and I put bits and pieces like that out for the new people to work with who do the Galilean, because I think not just for Galilean but for all teaching full stop, having that support network is essential as far as I'm concerned. So, right, I think I've talked myself to death. I can breathe. Has anyone got any questions, anything specific? I'm just going to have a proper look through comments. I haven't done. Nikki, you're right, it was on Zoom, and then I changed it to the Expertise TV. That wasn't very good. Don't bother doing that. Yeah, I tried to use a new platform earlier to do the webinar from. It did not work out well. Yeah, not me actually. It was just really glitchy and rubbish, and they've obviously launched it before they've sorted it out, bless them. So I can't use that. Yeah, I couldn't use Zoom because it only gives you, when you schedule a meeting, it only gives you a 40-minute block unless you're paying for it. And I don't know, I want to make sure that I know which package I'm using before I pay for it. So yeah, the technicalities of business, which actually on the Galilean and sort of on my student group, you can talk about business stuff. So if you've got a business question, you know, all of that, that's what I'm there for. I'm not just there to help you with the energetic. You know, there's people on there actually who work in marketing. So there's the community is really nice in terms of everyone trying to help each other out with apps and tips and that type of thing. Right, if anyone has any questions, please let me know, because I did say it was Q&A. So if you have got a question, drag this down. Hi, Joe. Hi, Tracy. Thank you. People enjoying themselves, which is always good, because it's just me rambling, and that's don't know how interesting that always is. So on the day you get a workbook, you get a crystal to wear, you get a crystal to take home with you. Both of those are tuned to the Galilean Healing to work with. So you're working with the crystal only at the heart, because you're drawing everything out via the heart chakra. So it's, yeah, so it's nice to have that crystal there to sort of grounds it out. It also works on the first dimension. The first dimension is linked to our root chakra, which is where our childhood issues are kept. So if particularly people have got things that they brought through from childhood, and let's face it, most of us do. If I don't mess my children up in some way, I'm sure I've done something wrong. If anyone ever sees any of my stuff on Facebook, then you know my kids are crazy anyway. Because yeah, I'm doing the course on the, I'm sure it's the 25th. Let me just double check. Yeah, the 25th of this month. So I'm doing the course on the 25th of this month at Warren Centre in Winchester. So it's a really nice centre. There's a really lovely room that I like using because it looks out over a field and an old barn and stuff. So that's the room that I use. Like I said, everyone gets a treatment. You go home with like a proper old goodie bag, crystals, oh, beautiful, RAP, Louise Hay, Heal Your Body book, and my own workbook as well. You go home with, and it's a really nice day, and you do take on a lot in that day. But it's, yeah, I love doing it. I love doing it. Tracy, yes, we do love to ramble. It's in the genetics, gift of the gab and all of that jazz. Right. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions or comments or anything that I've said and they think, I don't know if I get that, or I don't know if I agree with what you've said, please feel free to disagree with me. Because I think unless we challenge ourselves, we're not, you know, you're never learning. You've always got to learn. So unless I sometimes challenge myself, or the way that I present things, or the way that I explain things, then absolutely, I need to hear that from you. I do say basically a lot as well, and it really gets on my nerves. It only gets on my nerves because I used to work on the telephone, and that was one of the biggest things that I said and basically too much. I got rid of that for quite some time, but it took a lot of practice. This is again, it's a filler. God knows, you know, the Irish hate a silence. Okay, so if any of you have missed anything and you watch it again from the beginning, and you think, oh, I need to ask her a question about that, then please just pop it on the questions and I'll catch up with it at some point. The event itself is on my events tab on my Facebook page, which you're on. So if you go to the events tab, all of my events are there, which I've got coming up. I have got obviously the Galilean Practitioners course. If anyone fancies this type of healing, I am doing one-to-ones at the moment. I've got a limited number available because I'm not properly back from maternity leave. So I do have some availability for healing.